Pow wow, yo, yippee, yay, guys. I hope you guys are excited. I hope you guys are good. I couldn't be more excited. As you guys know, my name is Cyrus Vizel, the proud founder and CEO of SwissBorg, always here to serve you. And besides me, three of my great brothers. Please introduce yourselves, guys.
Ooh, I can start. So I'm François, guys. I'm the VP of Product at SwissBorg. And today I'm going to present you what is hot in product, what we have in the pipe for the weeks and months to come. And I'm super thrilled to be with you tonight.
Anthony, go for it.
I'm going for it. Good evening, everybody. I'm Anthony. I'm the co-founder at SwissBorg. I'm very happy to be here with my three other brothers. Excited to be with the community. I see that yesterday was a blast. And I feel very nude compared to Alex, that is wearing the wonderful gentleman suit tonight.
Hey guys, super happy to be connected with you all tonight again, 2 nights in a row, this time in English. And yeah, obviously, hopefully you know, most of us here, we're very happy to always be connected to the community. And today my topics are going to be around alpha. Of course, we're going to talk about the Borg utilities and some new stuff that we didn't cover yesterday. So hopefully you're in for a ride.
And before we start,
happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Alex. Happy birthday to you. This was improvised, by the way, Anthony. This telepathic mind we have together for a long years. So thank for that. As Alex just said, for the people who have watched yesterday, there's going to be actually a lot of new content because Anthony's here and Alex is here. And of course, we have just more to share. So definitely yesterday was already a huge thing. This keynote that we're having is really about SwissBorg, about the Borg token, and all the great opportunities that will arise in this new cycle. So couldn't be more excited to be with you guys. And so let's get right into it. And before that, shout out to everyone, Thomas Yazoo, Efkul, Dennis Glavin, Prince Vegeta, Nico Nuts, Roman Sprengers, Muhammad, Dimba Ringa, Nico Nutnaps, and many others, Lelpos and many others. So very, very excited to have you guys among us. And maybe if this is not too long, we will have questions for the end. So please start to think about as well, maybe some questions that you'll have. But probably we're definitely gonna pick up on a lot of different interesting facts on this one. So let's get right into it. Obviously, our biggest mission at SwissBorg is to become financial free, right? And I think so. This is what we've been promoting for a long time. We used to about democratizing wealth management, but really the bigger goal is to get to be financially independent. And I want to really again precise why this is so important. It's so important for multiple different reasons. And one of the biggest reason why it's so important is that centralization is growing more and more. We know technology in our lives are probably getting better, but power is going more and more to few men, which today 1% of the population controls over 46% of the entire wealth. And that is actually quite crazy when you think about it. Centralization brings chaos, and chaos brings dictatorships. And this is definitely not the people that you would love to become. And even less, you will not probably like to live in countries where you have these dictators that are actually, ruling these countries. And I'm not saying that every man is corrupted and everyone that has a big amount of power will always force people to enslave themselves in different regimes, but this could happen, especially if you have in hands of people that have even more than weapons, which is technology, right? This could be even crazier. And I think so, we could think about a bright future, right? But we could think about of actually a negative future. But now let's focus on your future, right? So we just said this earlier, that essentially we have 1% of the population on this planet that controls all of this. Essentially, these are people that have more than $1 million, Swiss franc, GBP, euros in their accounts, right? And these are the millionaires and these are billionaires. If you're part of this category already, well, congrats to yourself. That is really cool. If you're not part of it, well, then you might be the next one, which is essentially the next 12% of this population, which essentially controls still quite a nice chunk out of this, which essentially is this, right? Then you have the next category, which is between 10,000 and 100,000 of capital. These people essentially are controlling this part, right? Which is a small little part of the pyramid. And then the last 52% of the planet who have less than $10,000 that control only this small amount. What is really, really important here is that rather you're in the top 1% or in the top 12% and top 34%, what you have to understand is how do you get to climb that ladder, right? That social ladder, but that wealth ladder. And why do you want to do that? Because eventually you want to be financial free. And becoming financial free is probably the best way to be authentic. I used to wear suits. I used to do a lot of different things that are maybe against my own will. And I think so, Anthony as well, working in TradFi, we did a lot of different jobs in the past where at the end we were forced into this, this moule, as we say in French, right? Where you finally doing a lot of things that don't really necessarily, believe in that mantra. The day that you start becoming financial free, and everyone has different targets, then I strongly believe that you start to be authentic. You start to take off all that stress that you had from society, and you could do whatever you want. And I think so. That's again the real mission of SwissBorg, is really to empower you guys to get to this. And I'm not saying like if you start and and let's say the people that have between 10,000 and 100,000, if you start there, I'm not saying within one cycle you get to being the 1%. But most probably, if you do this right in multiple cycles, you will get there. And really, we sincerely hope that we'll manage to help you to get to there. When we talk about wealth, there's multiple different ways to talk about wealth. Yesterday people say, it's freedom, it's time, it's a lot of different things. It could be status. Some people can categorize obviously wealth as something being like Dan Blazerian, right? Having just crazy amount of wealth, doing crazy stuff with really fancy boats and cars and whatsoever, and nice watches, and living the luxury lives of having multiple different women and all of that. But that's not necessarily your own picture of financial freedom. Potentially your financial freedom could be just, enjoying yourself with your family, playing board games, or it could be just to be yourself and travel the world and have a passive income that enables you to work 50% of the time, and other 50% of the time just traveling the world, learning languages, doing yoga, whatsoever. Right? We all have different goals, and we all have essentially different criteria that go with that. But what I really encourage everyone is to become financial free. Like that, you become really you take your pen, you take that book, and you start writing the lines of your life, and you make it in a way that Web3 actually is that beautiful ledger that enable you to get to where you need to be. So the question for you guys is, are you on track? What I usually say is, if you look at this and you realize that the best performing asset class has ever existed is Bitcoin and is crypto in general, then probably we were getting all together on that, right? And that's a great thing. But what I would like you to probably do as exercise is each cycle, try to write down how much you're starting with and how much would you like to end this cycle before there's a massive correction. And maybe you want to do something like buy a car, or buy an apartment for your family, or build a house for yourself, or do whatever, start reducing your work time from 100% maybe to 80%. That doesn't really matter what it is, but you should really write it down and start preparing the different cycles, right? We're in the third cycle of crypto, or sorry, we're in the fourth cycle of crypto right now. And, we will probably still have, four or five different cycles. But I don't want to be a pessimistic. I do believe, though, 12 years from now, with AI automation and all of that, I do believe that's going to be harder and harder to break through these different pyramids. I think, though, they're going to be two type of characters, which probably one will be very good at writing prompts, and other people will be working with you at, having a very nice life or enjoying their lives and whatsoever. And I don't think the workforce will dramatically change. I strongly believe that. So I really encourage you to take action right now in your lives. And as well, that means investing in the right assets that have the right risk exposure to it, understanding in what you invest, of course, with the 5 Ps, and more importantly, being able as well to take some asset out of the table when you think you made enough in this cycle. Like that, you wait for the next cycle for new opportunities to invest, because the future could look as Black Mirror, where finally you have, you're in this credit score society where you won't be able to go to that school, talk to that person, and not take that, that car, or take that bus or that plane. You could be as well, closed up into this, virtual reality. Will you actually not be living your true identity, but throughout something else that could be cool, or it could be crazy. Or you could eventually buy your dream house, live in a country where there's really free speech, where you're able to really enjoy democracy in the best way, nature, and just be what you want to be, and build your wealth, build your freedom, and bring that to your next legacy, to really train your loved ones to have that same mindset of managing your wealth in the best way. What I always say, and I think so, this is one of the more important one for me, is thank you guys. Thank you, the community. Thank you for everything that has been done so far. Thank you, by the way, Crypto CG, for this t-shirt. Thank you for everything, what you're doing, because the best IP we have at the end at SwissBorg, for sure, is you guys. This community that we've had since 2017 with the ICO, that we had with our beautiful community app, that we launched the SwissBorg app right after, and you were the first guys to get to there, the Genesis Premium cohort that brought so much greatness to us, all the different premium people that then got our generation and up to community. And then of course, people that have been just participating to the Series A, people that has been participating on Twitter, on Discord. This has been essentially the best thing that we've built at SwissBorg. I'm so proud about our tech, about our app, about our product. But the most thing that I'll always take away, if I had to close the picture and close my eyes and have a picture, it would just be pictures of a lot of beautiful Borgers, such as you guys listening today. And for that, really, I'm really, really grateful. And I really want to thank you for this. Now, quickly, are we on track as a company? We had 3 main objectives. The first one is you guys. We really want to always make sure that you're in the green. Like 2/3 of the users are in the green territory. That means that whenever you invested, you are today in the green. We want as well your token to be in the top 50 coin market cap, which obviously we're not today. And last but not least, we want the community index average on a daily basis to be at 7, because we know if the community index is at that high score, essentially we're doing the right things to grow the community and to bring essentially a lot of great stuff to our Borg token. Right now, can we be proud? Yes or no? It's a mixed feeling. We know that a little bit more than 1/3 of essentially of our dear users are in the green. Of course, many people have invested in late 21. A lot of people invested in 22 as well at the peak, so that doesn't help. Coin market cap, we're probably not 273, probably not 250 or so. but we're still very far away from being even in the top 100. So there's a lot of work to be done there. And hopefully this presentation tonight we'll talk about how we get there. And last but not least, the community index, we've done very well since the let's say March. So this is very good. I'm very happy that we're there. So now I really talked about you guys, right? And I think so if you look at many books, of self-development, it's always about yourself, right? Brace, and then how do you get internally all the great vision? And then how do you manifest that vision together in the society? And how are we going to do this? I couldn't be more excited than to have our wonderful, lovely Francois talk about this in the best way possible.
So great. Sai, you can move to the next slide already. Cool, guys. So tonight I'm super thrilled to give you an update about what is coming next with product. But to do that, I just want to do a quick go back to the past and get back to 4 years ago. You can go to the next slide. All right. So what happened 4 years ago? One slide more. Sorry. All right, for those who are there already 4 years ago, May 2020, that's when we actually launched what we call the Wealth app back then. So the first version of the SwissBorg application. And for those who were there, you probably remember what was available when we launched the app. So for those who remember, we essentially had Ethereum, Bitcoin, and CHSB back then that you could buy within the application. And we offered 10 fiat gateways. But essentially, that was it. That's what we launched on the market in 2020. And you can move to the next slide. And today, 4 years later, I'm super proud of how the platform and the product evolve. Today, I'm super happy to have a wealth management platform that is really true to who we are, which is easy to use, which is still very transparent, and still very, very secure. So we evolve over the last 4 years, but remain true to who we are. But I know that you mainly want to listen to what is coming next. But before that, I just want to celebrate a couple of achievements that we had over the 4 years. So first, I'm super proud that, we started with only 3 tokens. Today, we have 87 tokens that you can trade within the application. But we expanded beyond just being able to buy tokens within the application. We also launched 4 thematics. We also have available within the application 27 yield strategies that you can invest to and get earned from. We also launched since last year 16 alpha opportunities that many of you invested into. I'm super proud to have 785 happy users of the application that have been verified. And on top of that, please manifest yourself in the chat, but we have 51,000 premium members, and I really want to celebrate you guys tonight. So what's coming next? So how do we evolve the product? I mentioned that 4 years ago, we essentially were one of the already best fiat gateways where you could actually invest into 3 tokens to a very extensive wealth management platform, and how we want to keep evolving this platform essentially in 2024. You can just move to the next slide. Is essentially to have, 2 different tracks, because we are already very famous for our amazing swap experience, one of the best earned program that you can find on market, one of the best, if not the best fiat gateways that you can have, and also other products like thematics that most of you love or all of you love. And this year, we want to keep evolving and improving those existing products that already made us as successful as we are. But to prepare the future, we are also investing into new products that we are sure will make us even better in the future. And you can see here that we have among them our alpha platform. So we already launched 16 alpha opportunities, but we want to launch way more, and we keep building the underlying platform to do so. We already spoke a lot about our MEX, and we keep investing into it to make it even better. And there are two other products that we are evolving at the moment, the loyalty program that we are working on, and you'll hear way more about in a few minutes, and also the SwissBorg cards that I know many of you are expecting. I don't yet have an official statement to make or announcement to make, but our teams are working very hard on it, and we are doing our best to deliver it as quickly as possible. So I know that you would kill me without making some product announcement, and I have 3 to make tonight. You can go to the next slide. So the first one, and it's available since today. So comeback of double-digit yield on USDC. You can go to your application and you can already invest. And I'm super thrilled and super thankful to Aurélien and the Earn team that managed to pull this out. So that's the first announcement, which is already live in the application. The second one, I know that you all love thematics. We already have 4 that we are already very proud of. The golden thematic, the best blockchain, and the banter bundle in terms of the core thematics that we have. And at the beginning of the year, we started to explore with really theme-based thematic with the gaming one. And I'm super thrilled to announce that before summer, you'll have 3 new thematics within the application. We don't really reveal yet which one it will be, but maybe you can guess, but you'll learn soon. And last but not least, I know that this is something that you guys are expecting a lot. Limit orders, at least the first version that we'll already be very proud of, will be out this summer. And I'm super thrilled to announce that today. So that's it for the product announcement, but please stay tuned because you'll learn way, way more and mainly about what is coming around Borg, and that's what the rest of this keynote will be about. Thank you so much. Sai, back to you.
Thank you so much, guys. I hope you're very excited about the Borg. I hope you're very excited about the roadmap. Again, this is groundbreaking. You know, as I always say with SwissBorg, it takes some time to build those layers. But when those layers starts to get to manifest themselves, then we could really be able to proliferate in the best way possible and build very greatly horizontally. And this is something that I think so. It's really, really well done. I think so. You know, the yield on USDC is going to bring a lot of more inflows for sure, which is great. And of course, the thematics. I know people are talking about are trying to say what's going to be. Is it going to be AI? Is it going to be meme? Is it going to be AI? Yeah, there's definitely maybe some of those. I can't reveal it. Francois and our beautiful investment team and product team wanted to take that a little bit on the side. As I just said earlier, I think so. The Borg has been really one of our best assets. I have it here, but I have it here. I have it here. I have it on my underwear today. I'm not going to show it, but I have it everywhere, right? And today, the Borg is still my biggest investment. I'll always have, and I always had. So making the Borg as successful as possible is definitely one of our main goal at SwissBorg. What is very important as well is that we really want to show this as a financial freedom token. If you look on the past of what we've done very successfully is how we created a token that has a really strong play within our SwissBorg app, right? We've been able to have 51,000 plus premium users. We've been able to stake 25% of the total supply into essentially this program. And this is our crazy numbers. Like, you really don't see that elsewhere. However, at all-time high, I know we're not at 22 cents now, probably at 25 or 24.5. I'm not too sure. We're definitely still 85% down from an all-time high. So to get back just to all-time high, we still need to do like times 7, right? We're still very far away, and there's a lot of room for improvement. What I really want to say is, again, our community is the one who drives the Borg. If you really look at what has happened in the past, which might be a good prediction for the future, is that the price of the token has a very strong correlation with essentially the acquisition that we have at SwissBorg, right? The more the acquisition we have, the more essentially the token price actually grows. And why so? Is very easy. When you go to SwissBorg, essentially you start buying Bitcoin or Ethereum very often. Then slowly and surely you get to understand other different tokens, and the Borg is usually your third choice, right? These are really the three most traded tokens that we have within SwissBorg, because whether people love the idea of SwissBorg and they first start with us, or essentially they're referred by other people and they really love the project and they want to become premium. Our statistics have shown us that whenever we get to have between 12 and 15K, then party is on. 12 and 15K means new users that are onboarded per month and roughly buys between 5 to 6 million Borg tokens. Right now, we're not at that level, so it really shows that we're not as well in this crazy bull run yet. It's probably just the early stage of this bull run. And right now, we're roughly around 6,000. Between 5 and 7,000 per month of people that are onboarding. So there is some growth that's happening and some spikes. And we had a nice spike that happened, in March, and that had a good rally for the token. But we're not there in the crazy moments. People obviously get to buy the SwissBorg token because they like it, but out of the 150,000 people that we have on the app, actually a third of them are premium users, 51,000, right? And the great thing about these premium users is that they're very loyal, right? So we see that out of the whole existence of the premium models that have been done since 21, we have essentially 80%. So only 20% of churn rate, which is very, very small. It's that small that in the world of crypto is almost never seen. It's the opposite of deja vu, right? So this is really, really good. We see that a lot of people that are essentially becoming a premium, they just keep it. And I think so this is something that's really, really cool. It shows a loyalty, and thank you again for this. It's really massive to see this. So why are people now becoming premium? You probably know it, but these figures are very important to see, is that if you're a generation or a Genesis, you save an average between, or you earn extra, between $1,000 to $3,000 per year. And that's a lot. Already $118 million, euros, or CHF pretty much, has been given to essentially our dear premium holders. So this is something that has not only a status and a will to say I'm a Borger and I have this rank in terms of a premium model, but even more, it shows that there's a fundamental value to own the token. So our token has a very strong utility within the SwissBorg app, and that's undeniable. These stats are really here to show that. I think so this is very important. The thing is, what we've seen is actually a lot of people have been doing something very smart, which is upgrading their premium tier when the token is not at high. And I think this is something that's very smart that a lot of people are doing. 25% have done that in the app, which is that they might start as a standard, so then they get to, let's say, Explorer Community, right? And this is in the last cycle. In this case, this priest used this beautiful face of myself, and I had 4,000 euros, let's say, right? I end up essentially maybe I end up with 4,000 or 5,000, 6,000 euros in the previous cycle. Good amount of performance. I'm happy with that. And I'm right now community member, right? So I essentially locked 2,000 Borg. Now, if I plan ahead 1 cycle, 2 cycles, the cycles I'll talk until 2037. What do you want to goal and we know very well that whatever you make very rapidly, you probably lose very rapidly, right? Even in a crypto, we make good amount of money. It should be looked in cycles and never looked at a very short amount of 6 months or whatsoever, because those things usually don't work well. What if this person, let's say myself, said, okay, I'm right now a community member. I have 2,000 essentially Borg staked. Would it make sense for me to pass on to generation? That means acquire 18,000 more Borg tokens. Well, people could say, yeah, it maybe is worth it. It looks nice, but let's now try to look fundamentally if it's really worth it. So we see that roughly there's 900 euros difference between generation and community of the amount you actually make extra. Okay. If you look a cycle that lasts, let's say 4.5 years, within that cycle, if you're buying the tokens at the price of today, roughly, it is worth roughly 4,000 euros. So the earnings, if you do 900 multiplied by 4 or 4.5, essentially those get to those 4,000. So within a cycle, people that upgrade, especially when the token is not at a high level, it's a really good bargain. It's a really good bargain just to pass to the next, essentially, or jump up the ladder in terms of the premium tiers in order to get essentially better deals, less commission, and a higher yield, right? I think so. This is something that you have to realize and pass on to other people. And what is as well very important is that if the token performs very well, then you have the double effect, right? You have the fact that you're making more money, but as well your underlyings of this by staking these boards actually propels you to have a higher net worth going forward. So this is something that really I encourage people to look at. It's something that does make sense if you want to build wealth on the long run. And for that, yeah, I really would like you guys to picture that in your mind and share it to whoever you feel like. Now, a lot of people saying, okay, that's great, Cyrus. But if I'm already generation or Genesis, why should I have more tokens? And very often that's a fair question, right? That's a very fair question. And I could, people would say, well, why do you need more Bitcoins? Why do you need more Ethereums? And they say, well, yeah, I need a utility to the SwissBorg token in order to acquire and at least put in my mind I need some more. The great thing is that I'm about to invite Benji that's going to discuss about why Genesis, why generation, but as well, why other tiers, explorers and community and pioneers could actually have extra Borg in order to have a much better experience within the SwissBorg network. So for this, Benji, come up.
Hello, everyone. I'm super hyped to be here. We're going to be talking about something that actually landed in your app if you did the update yesterday. If we can get the slides back up, it would be helpful. But you actually have the Borga journey that is now available inside the app. And this, for the people that have been here for a while, is actually the new version of the hero score. Now, the hero score was something that happened about a year and a half ago, and we received a lot of feedback. People weren't able to really identify or play the game. They weren't incentivized. It was too complicated. It wasn't in the app. And we located the pain points and decided to completely redo the whole thing and really analyze what you wanted. And this is what we have right now. So let's dive right into it. Inside the SwissBorg app, we have the heart of it, which is the Borg token. And there's multiple things that you can do with it. You can stake to get the premium tiers, and then you can have a better boost on your earn strategies, or you can have lower fees, but you can also hold it and you can get access to alpha opportunities and more perks that we'll get into in just a little moment. You can use it in order to vote and have a better power on your voicing power and also better rewards in Borg directly from the Guardians, but you can also pay with it and unlock subscriptions like the Pegasus, which will unlock you extra alpha opportunities that you'll get nowhere else, as well as some special guidance to help you navigate the tough world of crypto. Now, if we go on to the next slide, you'll see that we've created this model to make it the easiest, most intuitive design possible. You'll be able to see directly inside the app, and you can, if you already have the update, where you're standing on the different camps. So depending on how many Borg you have points, and these points give you a camp. In the camp, you'll be able to see directly where you're sitting and how much you need to go to the superior one, which perks you get for each of the camps. And then you can directly, for example, if you want to increase your camp right now, just buy the Borg that's necessary for you to increase it automatically. It's very easy to understand. It's very intuitive, and we're super excited to be presenting it right now. Now, to get into the interesting stuff. First of all, how do you calculate how many points you have and how much you need to increase it? It's actually the most easy calculation you'll ever see. One Borg is 1 point. So if you have one Borg, you have 1 point. If you have 10, you have 10. If you have 100, you get the gist of it. And then you bundle up all of the Borgs that you own and you multiply it by the premium tier that you have. So we talked about it before. If you're community, you'll multiply it by 1.2. If you're Genesis, you'll multiply it by 1.5. And this will help you unlock the next camp, which gives you the perks. This is the moment all of you have been waiting for. Let's get into the perks. So the perks actually start at 100 points, which I guess most people here have. But if you don't, then it's the moment to get it, because that will enable you to get the Alpha Vault access. If you don't have them, you won't get as many opportunities as the ones who do. Now, if you have 2,000 points or more, you'll unlock Guardians rewards, which will actually give you some Borg every time you vote, every 3 months or so. And if you have 100K, you have early access to some of the next features. But what's very important to note is that this is just what you have today in the app. We're actually going to be implementing many more features and fun perks, including one that we're going to be launching right now. So listen very carefully. The next perk, I said yesterday when we were in the Casino de Montbenon in the French, that the next perk would be an airdrop. And the airdrop, well, we can have fun with the criteria thanks to this new system. So the criteria that we defined for this airdrop is that the next 500 people who increase from one camp to the other will be receiving an airdrop. And I'm not going to tell you which token. I'm not going to tell you how much you're getting. This is all you're getting. If you increase right now, if you're in the next 500 people to move one camp up, you'll be getting an airdrop. And stuff like this is amazingly exciting, and it's really what we want to share. We managed to simplify the visualization of the utilities in the app, but we also managed to make it fun. And this is what we want to represent with the Borger journey. Now, there are multiple ways that you can increase your score. The first one is the most obvious one, and this is just buying Borg. The next one comes on the next slide. Interestingly enough, if you are a Series A investor, we talked about one of the perks. This is the SwissBorg. The SwissBorg's NFT is something that we've been cooking for some time, and their first utility, and we're not going to talk about them too much today, but their first utility is that they're going to be giving you some extra points in the Borger rank, which means that you'll be getting access to the airdrops, to the alpha opportunities, and everything that we'll be implementing in time. Now, if we move on to the next slide, we'll talk a little bit about why we decided to go for an NFT collection. We can see here 9 loyal Borgers, and they're really have amazing profile pictures, but they're not unanimous. They're very different and they have their own style. We know them for it, but it would be nice to be able to represent the SwissBorg community with a digital identity that's unanimous. And this is what SwissBorg aims to become. If we look at the art on the next slide, we'll see that we want to make them cute. We want to make them cool. We want to make them colorful. We want to make them SwissBorg. And this means that we'll have different traits. We'll have many of them, and we'll make them as interesting, as fun as you can, because we'll actually be building it along the community. Obviously, we want those to represent you, so there's no one better than you to help us build them. Moving on to the next slide, we're seeing that you can right now suggest by scanning this QR code the traits that you want, but I don't want you to do this right now. I want you to go back on this presentation at the end of it and scan it when you have an idea of, okay, for example, I like 21 Pilots. I'm going to be using the red beanie that he has in the song Stressed Out, and I'm going to suggest it. And by having all of these green laser eyes or everything that represents you and us, we'll be able to build the best collection out there that will be able to incarnate the SwissBorg community everywhere on social media. And that's what we're hoping to achieve with SwissBorgs. Now, the target that we have with all of this on the next slide is ambitious, but it's perfectly doable. Today, we have 50,000 loyal Borgers who are staking 200 million Borg. We want, not tomorrow, but in the future, to have 100,000 loyal Borgers that are staking 400 million Borg. And this is our target. This is our North Star metric. This is what we want to achieve. And this is everything that's going to be happening in the app. But there is so much more to this presentation that goes around Borg. And I'm not going to be talking about it, but I'm going to let Anthony talk about Borg outside of the app. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Benji, for the energy and the great presentation. Cool, guys. So we, as you understand, this presentation is very much centered about Borg because it's part of the core of our ecosystem. That's the reason why we exist. And as Cyrus presented, when it's come to Borg and the app, there is something to consider. When we started this journey, it was very clear for us that we needed to build the best app possible to help basically user access to crypto. It was very difficult to navigate. I think still to this day, it's very difficult to navigate. But when we see what has been built in the past 7 years, it's amazing. And to this day, when you look at SwissBorg, what we managed to do very well is to build arguably what is one of the best apps that exists in crypto when it's come for anyone to adopt crypto. The result of that is we have a strong base of people like you that truly trust what we are doing. And we constantly see this base growing on a daily basis. The result of that is there is massive adoption of Borg within the app. We have more than 100,000 users that actually possess the Borg, and 50K of them are loyal users through Premium and other loyal program within the app. On the other hand, when we look at the crypto space and the way the crypto space is designed today, if you look at the top 300 token classified by market cap, you will realize that actually all of them, and we are the only one, we are the outlier, possess either on-chain app for their business, or they have some sort of utility on-chain. When we look at the Borg, we have none of them. And again, we are the outlier. So part of the journey of thinking of the Borg and how we can access a bigger community, how we can vehiculate our mission to a broader audience, was to design a journey for the Borg on-chain. So if you go to the next slide. Yeah, so that from 2 days now on, we've decided that the Borg should build on-chain. And there is good reason why. If you think of the app, again, we've done an amazing job, but we mostly cover Europe. And Europe represents maybe 25 to 30% of the entire crypto community, while the 70 other part of the world has very hard time to access or understand or get any appetite to acquire the Borg. So on-chain will help us to actually reconnect with the 70% of the world that do not know about the Borg and will be, I'm sure, very pleased to embrace the Borg. So the part of the first step of building an on-chain journey for the Borg was to bring the Borg token on Solana. And we are very proud to announce, I think for most of you guys, you know already, but yesterday we announced that officially we managed the engineering team work around the clock, very, very hard to make that reality happen, because we are one of the first token to be bridged from Ethereum to Solana. But it's a great news. Solana, as you know, has been a very, very, very strong ecosystem since the past year. We have Phantom Wallet, for example, that have more than 5 million users. So it's a very, very strong community. We've been very close to Solana because it allows us to build the MEX. And the Borg migrating on Solana is the first step of us gaining more and more traction on chain. And what I can see is since yesterday, we had already 15% of the people that possess the Ethereum Borg, that are actually order of the Borg on-chain on Ethereum are already on Solana. So it's a great achievement in itself. So how we did that, just for you to understand what was the journey, we partnership with Wormhole, which is actually a bridging technology that allow us, we use the engineering team use the native token transfer entity to allow this to happen. So the result of that is now when you use the app, you have the capacity to directly withdraw your Borg token directly on chain through Solana and start to play and interact with the Borg token within Solana, as you will see in the next slide. So the journey is very, very simple. It's the same as what exists currently in the app to withdraw tokens. We haven't yet developed the bridging. If you go to the next slide, we haven't yet developed the universal bridging capacity, because we still need to collaborate more with Wormhole. So it will come at the later stage. Engineering team it's what's come next into their roadmap, but it's part of the journey of bringing again the Borg token to the Solana ecosystem and back. Now, as you can see on this demo, if you use the wallet Phantom, which is the most adopted wallet on chain, you can exchange directly from the wallet, the Phantom wallet, your Borg token. You can buy or sell with Solana or any other token directly from this wallet, and it's really great. We've been using Backpack, not Phantom, in this demo, but essentially it's great because again the adoption of the Solana blockchain is phenomenal, and it's really expand the capacity for us to acquire more token holder, which is ultimately what we want to achieve. So the first step within this journey, and Other thing as well is we've been partnering with Camino, which is the biggest DeFi protocol on Solana. And we've been partnering with Soulblaze as well, which is a liquid staking protocol for Solana. And basically, we've built a Borg/BSOL liquidity pool. So it's a little bit technical, but basically we managed to incentivize this pool together with Soulblaze that we can bring as much liquidity as possible on chain. And Alex has done a little demo for you to appreciate how simple it is to actually bring liquidity now on the Borg token directly on Solana. So it's live right now. It's been live since yesterday. So you guys can go on camino.finance and have a look for yourself. So the first idea of saying, how can we get more people to adopt the Borg token? We need to go on chain. Was to bring the Borg within the Solana ecosystem. And why? Because we're extremely connected with the Solana ecosystem through the MEX and through the app. The second part, which is the most important part, is for us to build a suite of on-chain protocol, of on-chain wealth management protocol. So basically bringing all the expertise that we've been building since 7 years, bring that on-chain directly through the Borg token to conquer the new territory, this new community that is just waiting for us to come. And the result of that, if we do this job very well, and that's what Danny is going to introduce in the next presentation, the result of that will be to have Borg as the most liquid token on chain. And for that, we're going to be helped by the first brick of this on-chain suite of DIA protocol that we're going to build that is called the Borg pad. And this is what Danny is going to introduce now.
Awesome. Thank you, Anthony. I wanted to make sure we let the video fully finish the NASO presentation that I edited it. And indeed, so thanks to Anthony, we understood the global vision for SwissBorg on-chain and why it is important to go on-chain and the importance of bringing Borg with us into this on-chain future. The real other thing we do really well at SwissBorg is product. So it's my honor today to speak to you about the first D-app, so decentralized app, our own product that's going to highlight this vision of Borg on chain. And for that, as always with SwissBorg, when we start looking at product, we need to have a strong mission. And what you need to know is that since a little while in a dark, hidden corner of SwissBorg, a dedicated team has been working on a very special project. That project is a new launchpad. But it's not just any launchpad. It's actually a new generation of launchpad that aims to completely rewrite the rules of the game. The mission is to end this sex, VC, and market cartel that you've heard so much about over the last few months from us, and create a new positive and pluralistic path forward for the industry. So that's where we're going to dive in now. I'm going to explain to you what the Borg pad is, what it is based on, and how we're changing this game and bringing Borg to the center. So what you need to know is that this vision was centered, as Anthony mentioned earlier, and I was just referring to, on two big pillars. On one side, you have this idea of recreating a new playbook for the industry that today sadly is broken. And on the other side is whilst doing that, can we put Borg in the best possible position to embody that vision, that mission as a token and make people understand out there that if you believe in financial freedom, if you believe in fair, fun, and community centricity, Borg is the token representation of this in Web3. And so with that being said as an introduction, it is my honor and pleasure to introduce today, for the first time in English, a brand new Borg pad, which is, if the slide goes forward, which is where the on-chain legacy for us begins on the product side. So let's understand exactly what's wrong with the industry today. Because if you look back on where Web3 began, arguably 10 years ago, when we first heard about Satoshi's white paper, we thought about a very grand vision of rebuilding the financial system that was broken, opaque, and just not fair towards all the actors and contributors to it. We've been thinking broad about potentially reimagining society with a new layer of distribution of governance that could happen through blockchain. Sadly, if you look today on Twitter for 10 minutes, you actually realize that much of the discourse online is not really focused on the original version of Web3, but on a much more short-termist and what we call a nihilistic version of it, which is just essentially trying to understand what is pumping today, what will dump tomorrow. And so if you go to just press one more on the next slide, you can see this, we found this funny little animation, but you can really see what we're trying to say with this, whether it's the new meme token or the new project that's about to make 100x for whatever reason. Sadly, this is where the discourse is on. And what you need to understand is that it's not really the fault of the individual actors and people on Twitter, on X or Discord or wherever that talk about this, because the whole industry is actually set up to make you talk about this. Because what's actually happening, if you go to the next slide, is that you have, I want to invite you to a little exercise and imagine that you're going to build a new project, a new Web3 project. You are the next Cyrus Fazel and Anthony, and you're going to build the next mini SwissBorg. What you will encounter these days typically is people that will tell you, okay, you've got an idea, but you need to show us some initial traction. So how do you build traction today on Web3? Well, on social media with Twitter, Discord being the main outlet, and that happens typically today with botting. It doesn't matter whether you show real traction or what people want to see is paper numbers, nominal numbers. So if we just go on the next one, we have a little journey here that will showcase this. So first they will ask you to get this traction. Once you have this traction, you can then argue to potential VCs and investors, okay, I have an idea, I have a project, and I have a pseudo community who's following me, where this community is bot, a real user, no one actually cares to do their due diligence, or very few players actually do. So that's step number 2. You now be able to raise your first pre-seed with the first couple of investors. Once you raise your first initial capital, you go to step number 3, which is the idea of introducing a token. Because at one point, your initial investors want to have a way forward to exit their investment. And that in Web3 is done via tokenization. That's also when you onboard your first pumpers. These pumpers will allow you to then promise to their community that your project is the next 10, 100x. And that will keep going this vanity metric hype that we see on so many projects. This is where it gets really interesting, because now is where you start introducing the very famous point system. What does the point system do? The point system gets you traction, but it gets you traction because it's a proxy for potential airdrop. So what you actually attract is not real users. Here again, you attract farmers who are simply there for the fact because you promised them potentially an airdrop, but they're not actually there because they deeply care about your product. So you see again that the basis upon which all these projects are built are complete shambles. Nothing of it is real. Most of it is just done so that at this point, your initial investors can be like, okay, this project has now got traction, many more users, more capital in its protocol, whatever it might be. And now we're going to raise a second round of financing, which is going to be much higher than the first one. So now I'm, as an investor, going to be able to say, I already made a return. But the interesting part about all of this is that you actually need to do this for this 5th and last step, which is the ability to pay the extortionate fees of what we call the sex and market making cartel, that with the final boss being Binance, that today charges you around $3 million to get onto their platform and as a listing. So in fact, you need to do all these previous steps that are based on nothing real in order to actually be able to pay the ability for you to go live on the main exchanges and actually distribute your token and go towards the public. And this is where the final coup comes for you as the investor. Because what actually happens is that this is also the moment, once you're listed on Binance and Bybit and all the others, so where all the initial investors, your VCs, your pumpers that you onboarded, actually going to exit that liquidity using your buys to have someone to sell to. And so you see the whole game is rigged. It's not necessarily fair. It's very opaque. Nobody's really talking about this. And we thought, if we're going to create a product, let's reimagine this path and actually create a better future for Web3. To visualize this very quickly in a more tangible way, actually what's happening is this, like we realize that more or less a third of most projects that go down this path, they will allocate a third of their total token supply to this kind of behavior. And on the right side of the screen, you can just see exactly what's happening. The moment you start buying is actually where all of these actors start selling for a huge amount of profit already. We see that on average is about a 40x that most VCs do that invest early in the first round to TG. And so you start with the 0%, and these guys have already done multiple 1,000% returns. So you see there's huge potential for creating a better future, and this is what the Borg pad will allow us to do. So now this is the big part. We're saying, okay, let's take Web3 from its rebellious, chaotic adolescence of today and bring it to better adulthood, or more value-driven, pluralist adulthood. And here's how we're going to do it. If you go to the next slide. The whole vision is based on 3 pillars. One is the idea to be able to raise from communities, not just from VCs. And you've seen us do this in the past with SwissBorg. We actually set the world record last year with a Series A, raising $22 million from 17,000 unique community members, i.e. you, who many of us are watching us today, showing the world that this is possible. The second point is the ability to actually get real users, not just farmers. If you're going to attract users, get a real community like SwissBorg. We probably have one of the strongest and more enthusiastic communities in the whole industry. This is something that we should have more projects aim at instead of just having ephemeral communities that come and leave as soon as you distribute your airdrop. And lastly, with our vision of a launchpad, we can create a new path for you to be listed on major exchanges, notably SwissBorg, without going through any of the steps I just said earlier, the 5 steps of extortion that you're going to have to go through and pay 3 million euros to Binance. In one phrase, this means that our aim is to realign the creation and the distribution of value in Web3. The creation, which is done by users, and now with our BorgPad, the distribution will also now happen to the same users, i.e. you. So the next slide is the big one because we're going to show you how this is going to happen. Here's a very tangible example. Take a project, we're going to call it Agora, because we actually might have done something like this already in the past as a test. We're going to take Agora, who now is ready to launch their token in the coming days or weeks. Their mission is to now get enough liquidity on chain in order to do that, so to make their token tradable on different exchanges. We're going to focus on the Solana ecosystem for all the reasons that Anthony mentioned earlier. And so what we're going to allow you to do through our BorgPad is to actually invest in Agora or in any other project that we're going to put forward by investing and filling their initial liquidity pool. It's what we call initial liquidity bootstrapping. The idea that together, through the community, through our investments, we're going to be able to provide enough liquidity for the token to launch on chain, and through that, us then, through our MEX, launch it on SwissBorg as well. And until now, this could happen theoretically through Alpha. But because of the fact that since yesterday, the Borg is on chain on Solana, for the very first time, you will be able to exchange, or any other user, in fact, the 5 million users on Phantom, let's say, will be able to exchange part of their Solana for Borg and invest with Borg into this BorgPad. The important part to understand is that on this product, in the BorgPad, the only way to invest in Agora and all this project is through the Borg. This is the game changer. The Borg is the centerpiece of this product. It's the counterparty investment vehicle for every single liquidity pool that we're going to build for every single project that we're going to put forward, which comes back to the phrase that Anthony finished on, which was that Borg is going to become the most liquid asset on chain. This is the aim. This is how we're going to do it. So once we've got that liquidity, we're then going to partner with Camino and Arrakis and different partnerships we have to create the algorithmic market making that we need, and then deploy that liquidity on the different DEXs that we have integrated and that we will integrate with our MEX. And as you understood by that point, because we're integrated with these DEXs on Solana, we're also going to be able to list this token on SwissBorg. So we're going to offer to projects a completely new way of listing their tokens and going live with their token. And you're going to see in the next slide the 3 reasons why this is a game changer for them. Actually, 4 reasons. And you're going to recognize this. Oh, so here's a screenshot I forgot of how this might look like. It's an early design. Don't get too excited. You might screenshot it, but this is not the final version. It's just here you can see that when you buy this, you actually buy both tokens plus the incentives that come with a liquidity pool. And for the project, this is amazing for these following 4 reasons. Oh, sorry, we're going to go straight for the Borg. The most important part for this is, as I said before, the center part of this is the Borg. On one side, you have the ubiquity, the omnipresence of Borg. As I mentioned earlier, this is centered around the Borg. The Borg is the BorgPad. And that creates 2 things. Because Borg is the only investable vehicle for the Borg, for the launchpad, for the BorgPad, there will be continuous buying pressure. You understand that as we create new opportunities through the BorgPad, as long as people want to invest, whether it's through Alpha or on-chain, they're going to need to keep buying Borgs to do that. And because it's liquidity pools and not straight VC investment types, that investment in Borg is actually protected on the selling side because we're going to lock it in the liquidity pools for a given period of time, typically up to a year. So that means that there's a continuous buying pressure and a continuous selling protection, creating this virtuous circle for Borg, making it super liquid on chain and incentivizing naturally continuous upward movement through the buying pressure we create and volume. So this is the magic of the BorgPad. To conclude this all, it's very easy to understand how the BorgPad is a winning product. And on this last slide, we're going to show you the 5 reasons of why it's a winning product. Oh no, the slide has left. Okay, there was the last slide. That's not there anymore. No worries. The Borg pad is there, but essentially, if I may finish on this, it's a win for you because you're going to get new listings in the app. You're going to get new alpha opportunities. It's a win for SwissBorg because we're going to increase our presence on chain with products that are unique and never existed before. It's a win for Borg for the reasons I just mentioned before: continuous buying pressure, continuous selling protection. It's a win for the industry, more importantly, because we're completely reimagining the games of how a product can be launched and how a project can get to token generation events and beyond. So thank you very much. This Borg pad we're building it actively right now. As you saw, the first screens are live, and it's going to come on chain on Solana very soon.
All right, so we're back. The next slides are going to talk a little bit about our commitment to the community and what we've been doing with the Guardians. When we stepped up and replaced the protect and burn into something new, we really wanted to prove that we were able to take our revenues and create a protection model for the Borg token and use it with the community to decide what we're going to be doing with these tokens. Now, when we stepped up last year, we talked about a few promises and a few improvements that we were going to make with the system. We said that we would require more community involvement. We said that we would have more transparency. And we also said that we would create some buying pressure. Now, on the next slide, we can see all of what was said last year. And 2 slides later, we'll be able to look at what has happened. So last keynote, we had distributed 680,000 tokens. We had burnt 300,000 tokens. And we had more than 13,000 answers on our surveys. And today, it's a very, very different story. We brought the program to a much bigger impact. We have, can we skip forward, please? We have bought back 4.5 million tokens. We have burned 1.7 million Borg tokens. We have airdropped more than 2.4 million tokens. And especially, we've created a new model. We've more transparent. We've created a sustainability score to really measure what we're doing and what we will be doing. And we're keeping people updated on the blog the whole time. Now, there's 2 things that we want, that we've heard you wanted, and that we want to implement. First one is in-app presence. We really want the Guardians to have more of an in-app presence and be more accessible to everyone. And so as of right now, you're actually able to click on the link directly in the app, and we're working on having it in the app directly. But the most important thing that we have to note is that we've bought back these 4.5 million Borg tokens, and we're planning on buying back much more to use, and we'll be using it for much more important reasons, such as the ones you have today. Finally, in app, indeed, Steve, this is exactly it. We've heard everyone wanted it, so we're making it happen. And talking about bought back tokens, we're now going to switch into the most bought tokens, which are on the next slide, and for you guys, I believe.
Going to have multiple different use cases that will help a lot SwissBorg. So first things first, let's try to figure what is what. Imagine these are 2 liquidity pools. Okay? I'm going to fill up this with green. What does the green mean? The green means this is Borg token, right? And Alex, as I fill up this glass, what does this represent? Some Solana. Can you guys hear me or not? Yeah, perfect. Okay. So the number two is what you have to understand is that we always have the Borg versus another token. And imagine this is the liquidity pool that you have right now on Camino that this exists. Now, let's say there's a new project, right, which is on the Borg pad. Let's call it the project number orange. The project orange is going to say, okay, I want to launch my token on the Borg pad. So how will that done? You'll have to take another glass, okay? So it'll have to be with, for example, it could have an alpha opportunity like Agora, or from the SwissBorg app, people are going to put some Borg here. But it happens to be that if there's other people that want to contribute to make sure that this Borg pack is very successful, what you're going to do here is that you're going to have to buy some Borg tokens. And for that, what do you need? You need some Solana. So this could be any of the 10 million plus users that are on the Solana network around the world that will be able to essentially start putting some Solana here. And let's say that in the other glass, they have, we'll not mix it together, they get some Borg tokens. So there's a direct buy pressure on the Borg token. The beauty here is that in order to fill this cup here, you're going to put some Borg, right? And with that Borg, essentially, you'll be able eventually to get this new token. What you see here is someone buying some Borg tokens and somebody then putting to the market making the LPs on chain, right? So not only there's a buy pressure essentially on the Borg token, but there's not sell pressure on this side, right? And then the person could extract some of these tokens and do whatever he wants. Now think about this exercise doing over and over. This is a new project wants to launch, right? Let's call it the Brown project, right? Which is again on Borg pad. What you're going to have to do is exactly the same thing as find liquidity through the SwissBorg app, or let's say people on chain. And for this example, it could be another pool. Now it could be on Camino, where essentially they will be essentially buying some Borg tokens that will now go into this liquidity pool. And as more and more you start building a lot of different projects and launching through it, there's essentially a strong Borg buy pressure. And there's not necessarily a sell pressure. This is the very important part, because you're seeing that people are actually doing market making. And if this project becomes very successful, essentially the Borg tokens will just be locked into these liquidity pools. So this is a beautiful way that we always thought of. How do you buy pressure, for example, for the premiums, and then you stake them? Here it's the same thing. The only difference is that we're not targeting the 500 plus people or 780,000 people who are on the SwissBorg app. We're targeting essentially a huge environment of people that are on chain, and a lot of people that are on chain actually have a big amount of wealth as well. So you could target anyone from essentially the retail to the institutional level, and that could be anyone that has a phantom wallet. So this is the power of on-chain. This is the power of DeFi, and this is how it's transformative, and how the Borg pad, and of course how the Borg can have multiple different lights into the DeFi. I hope you liked the story. You got what it is. Again, a reminder for those is you start with the Borg Soul, which is on Camino. Then the Borg pad, you go the token Borg versus, let's say, the Brown token, the Borg token versus the Camino, versus the orange token, sorry. People could fill it from the SwissBorg app, or it could fill it from any non-custodial wallets around the world. And the beauty is that if you're in the app or out of the app, the only way to get exposure to any of these tokens here, that could be numerous, you could talk about a big amount of tokens, will be with the Borg token. So not only we're better than SEX, we're avoiding the market making, we're essentially avoiding the whole thing about potentially just investing with VCs, but we're doing this in the most community fair way, where essentially Borg holders such as yourself get rewarded and are part of this of this new collation of bringing the best fair way of being better than sex. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Anthony, Alex, did I miss something here? Perfect. Thank you, guys. And switch to my other computer. Okay, let's share my screen too here. I think so. I still have one part here to go. If Danny could share my screen. Yes, this you go. So this is a presentation I did yesterday, and some people were excited, and some people a little bit less excited. And it's been a big thing about SwissBorg, which is mem tokens. Is this good or not good? Is this great or is this a scam? What we have to understand today is that 10% of the total, the biggest tokens, are essentially meme tokens. Right? It started with Dodge. It evolved with our dear Shiba and Floki, dog with hats, who happened recently, and last year we had a Pepe token. And all of these projects could look like a fun jokes, could tokenize essentially dogs. You could show the love that you have for dogs in these different tokens. You could show the fact that you like Pepe because he's super cool. But some of these tokens had to come to be now more than serious jokes. They become to be one of the really strong actually ecosystems. And the reason is that because at the end, what I really always loved about these meme tokens, it's fun, fair, and community centric, right? Most of these tokens actually never had any VCs. They have mostly went through fair launches, and today have essentially one of the strongest and the biggest communities around the world. If you look at the numbers of addresses, but in their numbers of people on different social media, they do have, and merch and all that, they have this really strong voices. And I think so at SwissBorg, what we've been very good at is building ourselves a lot of great things, asking you guys if you like, you're interested or not interested, and trying to involve you in growth. But we haven't been able so successful to build SwissBorg where it's a platform for your own growth, your personal growth. That's one thing for sure, but for a collective growth, right? And now that we have this board pad, now that we have a way to essentially show to the world how SwissBorg is awesome, maybe there's something more to be done. And that may be something that is a bit more to be done is potentially to say, what if we together, right? We start being able to do something a bit crazy here, okay? Something that is fun, fair, community-centric together. But that not SwissBorg ourselves do this, right? I think which is very important in here is that what we want to do is to be able that our community could finally use us as a platform, as a protocol to build wealth, or at least to have something fun. So we got with the idea, said, okay, if you look at all the different other launch pads, if you look at the most successful things, how can we show the world that the first project could be something fun, something a little bit crazy, and could be a meme token? And we got a little bit further than that. I said, okay, why should we be involved, or should we let the community do it? We had a lot of different people across our wonderful community that started saying like, well, if we had a meme token and we had fun out of this, we could call it Borgy. And from that, more and more, we got some designs. Some designs would be the Saint Bernard because it's a very Swiss dog, and why not? It's very cute. It's very loyal. It brings you hot chocolate when you're in distress. And this is something that you build a lot of trust with the Saint Bernard, right? Some people show this one, which is probably the best art I've seen ever on Twitter. I was representing just a crazy way of representing burgers here. There is something that you go a little bit further than that. It's something a lot of people are fan about Dragon Ball Z. So it was like a Goku Borg. And regardless of whatever the idea is here, I don't really care about, like, at the end, what would be the idea. What I think is the most important here is how do we create a fair launch? How do we together are able to show the world that we can have fun. We can do something that's super fair, that's super community centric, and build wealth at the same time. Because at the end, a fun joke become a project. That project becomes something eventually serious. And regardless of whatever the goal of this meme token could be, it could have multiple different use cases, utilities of doing whatever you guys feel like it. So what we want now today is ask you guys, are you ready to spend some hours in the next 3 weeks to create maybe a website, create some traction, be able to have a meme token that has a reference to SwissBorg. It could be really, really whatever you want. Obviously, nothing that is, a racist or stupid or whatsoever, but anything that represents SwissBorg in a beautiful way. Please scan this type form, throw different ideas there. In the next 3 weeks, we will have essentially 3 projects that will be shortlisted. The shortlisted will be then presented in the powwow if you guys want to show your faces or not at all, just submit this and be completely pseudonymous. That's fine as well. Then vote for this various one. So the Guardians back to you guys to have governance around the SwissBorg. Say like, okay, one of the projects is going to win, and then essentially have an alpha deal, do this beautiful liquidity provision by doing on-chain market making, have the opportunity then to launch it into the app, to list this token, and then make the long life of how this meme token should behave and should add value to our dear community members with rewards for borgers and many other different things that could happen. This is something that, again, is a fun, crazy experience. But out of the fun, crazy experience, sometimes beautiful things get out of it. And again, for people that don't realize yet that meme tokens is one of the biggest theme of this cycle, just check the stats. There's a lot of junk, but there's a lot of great projects. A lot of people are making fun about Shiba and Floki. Floki has created 2 games. Floki is in the top 60 today. Shiba today is in the top 10 or 20. They have a DEX. They have a L2 that they're launching very soon. They have so much great thing that to it. And I think so this could be a fun thing that anyone could take part in. So I hope you guys are excited about it. And I hope that many of you guys will be thinking about this tonight and maybe asking a friend, saying like, let's just create something crazy and let's see how it goes. But now let's get back to business and talk about something that's very important. I think so, Alex, this is for you.
For me,
It's for lovely Anthony, by the way. But yeah, I'll take the next part. Go for it, brother.
Cool, guys. Yeah. Okay, guys. So look, all this initiative that we've been talking about, which is the BorgPad, the MEX, the SwissBorg being on chain, or even if we talk about Earn and how we built Earn on chain with DeFi, because we believed at that time that was the right move to do. What they are the symbol of our never-ending belief into decentralized philosophy. And it's very essential, and I wanted to leverage this opportunity that we have to be together in order to stress again how important it is, especially today, that we remain very loyal into this mission. And this mission that we have called since 1 year, we've coined this term that is better than sex, that we see other people using. But basically why this mission of being better than a sex is so important today. So if you move to the next slide, we can start by the state of the market as it is today. To the next slide. Okay, maybe it's good if you zoom and you put me in very little. Excellent. Cool. So if we look at the state of the market as it is now, what we can observe basically is the majority of the value is actually captured at the primary market. So if you look at I know it's a little bit little, but we've been doing this stat of looking at the most successful listing on main exchange, which are namely Bybit and Binance this year. And what we find out is actually the average FDV, which is the value that you pay for the project, is 4 billion, which is immense. And if you had invested every single time a token was listed with an equivalent amount of money, the result, your performance since the beginning of the year will be minus 10%. While at the same time, when you look at the private market, where the seed generally lies between 5 million to 30 million, the private and then so on, what you find out is actually the private investor that usually invests only a few months before you, which is, it's not a problem to make money when you take more risk, right? But what's the problem is to make a 10x when you only invest for 3 months, which actually being not early investor or more a liquidity provider. So the state of the market today shows that even when you're on one of the most successful projects that there is out there, actually only the primary market can capture this value. And the retail market, which is you, which is us, only capture nothing because your end result is to make minus 10%. So what we predict today is this model is going to end. The same way as we predicted that the EARN program that was built 3 years ago was unsustainable and was about to collapse. What we predict today, and it's a more complex process to collapse, the underlying force that are behind this industry are going to take more time. But what we predict is this model is not sustainable. So if you move to the next slide, what we see every day, by scrolling to the Twitter timeline is people make fun of it. They see FDV is a meme. It doesn't matter what's the value. It doesn't matter that FDV is a meme. You can just trade token. And while it's true on the very short term, the problem with this mindset, if you move to the next slide, is that we create a world that is absolutely wrong. We create a world where the winners are the exchange because they just take a fees and they don't care if the project will collapse. The market makers, because they behave exactly the same, and the flippers. And the people that are the losers, so the people that we left behind within this reality, are the people that matter the most for the progression of the industry, namely the long-term investor, the people that are here and are ready to commit for a long time, to sustain and to actually go behind the project, like you guys with SwissBorg, and the committed founders, because they have no incentive anymore to actually build real technology and to go the hard way, to go to the grind way, because the incentives are not aligned with grinding. So that is typically very wrong. The good example of that is when we look at the L2 space. Today, there is more, if you go to L2bit, which is the coin market cap, if you want, of L2 protocols, there is more than 110 L2 protocol out there. 110. While we don't even use one app every day as a crypto user. Most probably the app that we use the most is Twitter, X, and it's not even a decentralized app. So we have so much to build in terms of decentralized app. We're still focusing on blockchains and infrastructure. And the reason why is because VC prefer to invest in infrastructure that are meaningless because there is a global acceptance that actually infrastructure worth more value, more FDV as the app. And because of their insane amount of money that is deployed at the primary market and needs to recapture value, then because of this high pressure, there is an inflow of money that is absolutely insane into this domain. And this is absolutely the result of VC manipulation that, again, use the global acceptance that infrastructure must be worth much more than the app. Then they flow money into this L2 that are absolutely useless, while we don't really we don't even use anything this day on a regular basis. So the polarity of the world that is building out of that is wrong. But the good news is the opportunity is big. One of the illustration is if you look at the number of tokens that are issued on Solana, only if you focus on Solana blockchain, during the past 3 months, there is more than 10,000 tokens that actually are created every day. So of course, a bunch of them are scams. And I don't even want to talk about it because of the very cheap gas fees. It gives anyone the opportunity to create millions of tokens. But the reality is within these 10,000 tokens that are created every day, there is still a portion of people, of committed founders that truly want to do something. The thing is they will never get the chance to be seen or invested by people like you. Why? Because they don't want to obey to the sex cartel rules. So as a result, they don't qualify. And still, these people, they have something to tell to the world. They are very important for our space to progress and go where it deserves to be. So if you go to the next slide, it's not the first time that something like this happened. If you take the famous online bookseller Amazon, they face exactly the same issue. Amazon sells book, so their success is heavily linked to the capacity of selling actually a very good book. The problem they had is the book ecosystem was obey to the publisher cartels back then, right? So they faced exactly the same problem. They wanted to publish excellent book, but the problem they have with every book is for a good book to be published, it had to obey to the publisher cartel rules. And a lot of actually writers didn't want to obey to these rules. So what Amazon did with what was amazing, they built the technology to say, actually, we're going to help you to directly publish without having to rely on any intermediaries, on any cartels. You can directly come, if you're a good writer and you believe you have something to say that can be actually worth something for someone, you can come and directly publish for yourself. The result of that are amazing. There is more than a third of the ebook that are sold today that actually are issued from a self-publishing software and scheme. So it was amazing. They really managed to disrupt the publisher cartel with technology. And this is how we're inspired to disrupt the sex cartel. It will be exactly the same way. So the message that I wanted to really carry today is what's going to be the mission for us, if you move to the next slide, for the next maybe 5-10 years, whatever it takes as a matter of time, will be to create initiative that really create a world where the winners are the long-term investor, the committed founders, and the KOLs and anyone that is with conviction to push this project. It's not only essential for us to thrive as an ecosystem because we don't sell book, we sell token. So this is our responsibility to allow a reality where good token can be produced, the same as Amazon needed a world where good books can be published without having to rely on the publisher cartel. That was really, really important. But not only is important for the ecosystem, but that will be key as well to SwissBorg ecosystem and to the adoption of Borg, because the Borg is going to play a central piece into making this reality happen. It's not essentially for the space, but it's going to be essential for us. So keep in mind these three people, this reality that we want to create, because it's going to be at the origin of every initiative that you are going to see coming from us in the next 5 to 10 years.
Anthony, that was absolutely beautiful. How do you guys feel about Anthony's vision, Cyrus's vision, and everything that's been said so far? Can we see some green hearts, guys? Can we see some love in the group chat? Thank you so much. Happy birthday to me. Once again, 44 years old, and I'm spending it with you guys. Actually, yesterday working, today working. So I absolutely planned nothing this week. But listen, it's cool. I'm with you guys, and that's what matters the most, especially this year, next year, where we have very interesting markets. Now, before I jump, guys, into specifications about Borg utility, about the Alpha and Launchpad, and all these cool products and features, I do want to share something a little bit more in terms of my gut feeling before the research, before the data, before the figures. And my gut feeling is telling me this, guys, for someone who's worked at SwissBorg since inception day. Every single company has cycles. Cycles are not just seasonal. They're not just economic. They're not just macro. They're not just anything. There's so many different ways to calculate cycles. But there is definitely a business or company cycle as well. And if you see it, if you look across all the big companies in the past, whether you're using Apple products as of today, whether you use Microsoft, whether you use Amazon, they're always ups and downs. And literally they come one after each other. So for instance, with Apple, they're going to launch the MacBook, the first MacBook in 1984. And then they have a serious period of downtime until they launch the first iPod. And then they have another serious period of downtime until they launch the iPhone. And there's a pivotal changing moment. And just to give you guys some stats that are based on many McKinsey, Price, Water, Cooper, and all the big four consulting firms, a company usually fails within 5 years. As a matter of fact, in terms of registrations, research shows that a company will go bankrupt within the first 5 years, more than half of them, arguably 60% of all companies, right? So that's a very important statistic because SwissBorg now has started the company in 2018. So as you guys know, we're 6 years old. We've already passed that very particular 5-year cap. And why is that number so important? It's because usually companies within 3 years, they start earning revenues, and within 5, they start becoming profitable, and then they can scale. And usually before companies start peaking, it takes roughly 7 years. And we've had the exact same cycles at SwissBorg, guys. The first 2 years, 2017, actually 2 years and a half till late 2019, we went through hell, like literally. As you guys can remember, the token went down 99.999%, and it was very, very tough. But then all of a sudden in 2020 and in 2021, we went through the greatest times. We launched the product, which was very successful, and we went from 0.005 cents to $1.64. And that was a positive cycle, a very positive one. And all of a sudden after that, from Q1 2022 up until maybe Q3 last year, once again, we went through the struggles. And I can tell you with great confidence, that is what is happening right now with regards to SwissBorg. And after focusing on the regulatory, the operational, the logistical side, for us to continue to be able to provide our product and services to all of you, to sustain our region, to sustain our community, while others are restricting and consolidating in smaller zones, SwissBorg is keeping its territory, and our defensive strategy has been extremely strong. But because we focus so much on these 3 axes, we lost a little bit of focus on the Borg token. And now you guys can see it's coming back. And I think it's very, very important to share with you all that this transition from being a SEX or from being a CeFi ecosystem token to creating a life of its own, like a teenager leaving his house or her house and going to university in their own campus, is a huge transition. And just to give you guys more specific points on why I am so bullish and why this feels like Q1 2020 right now in Q2 2024, is because all of the strongest companies that will survive, not just the 7-year mark, that will become the top companies in crypto in the world, which have an average of 18 years of existence, unless you're an Apple and you defy all odds and you live 40, 50 years in terms of companies, are the ones that are building on chain. Binance started with its chain. Now Base is building on chain. OKX have taken that route. And SwissBorg now is really building something super unique, because we're having everything, for instance, that what Jupiter has on Solana, except we're bridging. And as my brother would say, we feel the urge to merge the off-chain and the on-chain worlds. And that is absolutely beautiful. So I just wanted to contribute on my gut feeling on what I've analyzed through corporate growth and how companies not only build a business model, which is very rare in crypto, but create a sustainable one that will keep us here, and not just the next 7 years, but be alive for 18 years, which is the average cycle of a successful company. And hopefully SwissBorg will still be around in the next 40, 50 years, just like the major FANG stocks and all the big tech companies, especially in Europe, which I believe we have a chance. Now, with all that said, and sorry for the long-winded answer, because I really want to share some more high-level thoughts on the way I see SwissBorg. But let's move, and can we zoom into the Alpha 3-in-1 package? I want to show you guys some updates on how we're evolving what I believe to be one of the best, if not the best, early-stage community fundraising pad in the world. And I'm not just saying that based on my gut. We did an Aether, which is the #1 deep in play, just 2 months back. We did $3 million sold out in 40 seconds. These are stats that no one can achieve. Even some of the biggest launchpads that tried to help Aether have not achieved. And I can say that, guys, that the reason why we're doing so well is because, as you can see in this slide, we have a 3-in-1 package, right? Most, for example, if we take CoinList or Republic Crypto, that are amongst the elite, they do something really cool. Well, they qualify their users based on a system called Karma Points, and they will reward not just anyone who just buys the tokens and then dumps them later to get an airdrop and then to dump that as well, and people who game the game, but they find quality investors. And at SwissBorg, I believe we have some of the most intelligent investors, people who are more long-termist and that will have higher ROI percentages than most other people. But then on top of that, we have the ability to include quests. So some of you guys invested in Favor, which by the way are going to launch their token very soon, but you also became users of their platform through quests. So not only people get quality capital from you, the community, they get quality users from you, the community. And then we have a data-driven KOL matchmaking service, which is better than most marketing agencies out there because a lot of it is purely transactional and doesn't have any data to back it. So we really believe Alpha is ahead of every single launchpad in the game. And how are we going to take this to the next level, guys? Obviously, now that we have the Borger rank, of course, it's going to be very easy for everyone to understand the rules of the game. And you will have access to these vaults in a very clear and consistent way. But something that's really important on how we structure these vaults to get the best deal flow possible for you guys. Because believe it or not, and what Anthony is saying is a lot of the top projects are not interested in doing community rounds. It's really sad. They just want to have 10, 12, 15 VC logos, and they just want to have a few market makers that help them get listed on exchanges. And then they get absolutely murked by exchanges by having to give anywhere between 2 to 10% of their supply or pay a huge, hefty listing fee, which again is one of the reasons why we need to take down the cartels, and we need to democratize not just listing and helping projects, but also democratize early stage investments, because the best money is the community's money, not the VC money. And if you look at the next slide, here is a new strategy that we believe will help us scale, guys. So what we're doing now is we're also allowing KOLs to bring in their communities that will onboard the SwissBorg app. And the stats of this with a test run previously with Dark Machine was massive. We had over 800 quality KYC users join us for one single alpha round. Why? Because rather than SwissBorg just deciding who will join what round, when the KOLs invests, we get them to say, hey, listen, if you want to invest, why don't you bring your community with you so that if this succeeds, you reap the benefits, but also we give back to the greater good. We give back to you, the community. And these KOLs love it. They're like, listen, if I can find a way to build some wealth and reach financial freedom one day, as Cyrus wants us all to reach, then why not help my community do it? And it's transparent, it's open, it's democratizing. And I believe this system, guys, based on value provided, could take over some of the VC models. And so for the future, we want to create alpha as a service, meaning that some of the KOLs, if they bring in their top investment, and even if SwissBorg cannot invest or for other reasons, we can create their own vault in-app, but onboard all their users. And really, if we're struggling with marketing, use our partnerships and business development to hyperscale the app. And as Cyrus said, fundamentally push the Borg token price because they'll love their UX. Next slide, please, guys. Now, I am very happy to say, Borgers and people in the Borger rank, that we have two very solid projects that are coming to Alpha. One project, as you can see on this screen, has been signed. It is called Carve, C-A-R-V. Carve is backed by Hashkey, which is the biggest VC of Asia. It is backed by OKX. It is backed by Animoca, Draper Dragon, YGG, Fembushi, IVC, and they are one of the biggest AI and deep-in plays in the game. And not only we have access to this deal and these nodes for the community, but we also negotiated amongst the best tiers for our community as well. And the second project here is a project called Mind Network. Mind Network is a very interesting one because we actually have Binance Labs as their backers, Chainlink as their backers, and essentially Mind Network is bringing the holy grail of cryptography by using fully homomorphic encryption to secure consensus in Web3. So think of proof of stake nodes and their results encrypted before being broadcasted to the network to prevent node copying or losing information. So all the very important financial data, which, by the way, everything in the future is going to be, all of the financial assets is essentially data that needs to be encrypted and sent between two trusted parties. They will be using either ZK rollups or FHE. So we're very happy to say that you guys will be eligible for what we believe are AAA projects. And there's another one question mark here. We cannot tell you today. We're just waiting to sign the paperwork for you to have access. Now, all right, guys, new Borg utility. By the way, Anthony, is anything you want to add to this with regards to Alpha? All right, awesome. Next up, guys, we have new Borg utility. Now, this is something that was not on yesterday's live stream and also live presentation in beautiful Switzerland, but we are going to add a new Borg utility. This has been thanks to all the feedback from you amazing community members on Discord. We have a private Telegram group chat for the previous heroes that also we use as focus groups to really facilitate feedback. And I can say I'm very excited about this one. So can we go to the next slide? By the way, guys, you like my bow tie? All right, cool. I think we skipped a few slides here, important ones, but it's okay. So just for you guys to get a little bit of context, there are two. I'll make another video. There's many important parts that we're skipping here. But long story short, there are two successful use cases with regards to airdrops in crypto. Number one is Cosmos, and number two is Binance. And Cosmos is very, very successful because they've had 3 major chains launch through their SDKs. And that is the Say network, that is Celestia, and there's one more. Which the third one, guys, on Cosmos? And anyways, we can, there are pretty big airdrops for the projects that are as big as that. But the problem about Cosmos is you have to be very manual in your airdrop system. So you have to stake your Atom tokens onto the blockchain. You have to select the validator nodes. And once you stake the Atom, then you have to use that same wallet and go and connect it to some test nets, test out products with that wallet in order to be eligible for airdrops. Now, with Atom, roughly these days, if you have $3,000 of Atom, you're going to earn maybe $30 of an airdrop if you do it passively. So you have to be very active. The Binance model has been very successful because if you have roughly $5,000 of BNB coins, you can earn anywhere between $50 to $100. And they have roughly 2 to maximum 4 airdrops a month. So you could potentially, with $5,000 of BNB coins, you could potentially make an APY between 30 to 50% a year, just hodling and staking BNB. But the thing about Binance is they're so big that they can ask projects for bigger token supply for these airdrops. So SwissBorg, since we're not as big as Binance, how do we compete? How do we create an airdrop utility, which will become a stake drop utility in the future that is not only makes sense for you in terms of the meaning and the money that you can make, but also is sustainable and scalable? And that is, being not as big as Binance, we need to combine a 3-in-1 airdrop utility. As in, we have listing with thematics that combine together. So if we list a project that can also go in a bundle, we negotiate an airdrop and we give it back to you, the community. We give it back. Alpha and the SwissBorg Launchpad, as Cyrus was talking about earlier with the BorgPad and Anthony, now that we're doing early stage fundraising and we've had really top quality projects come on our platform, we also negotiate airdrops from there. And that is that's a bigger airdrop because it's early stage. If the token performs, the US dollar nominal value and the bags will grow. And then we give it back to the Borgers. And the most powerful airdrop of all, which is similar to Cosmos, is the ecosystem airdrop. So in this case, if you guys remember from 2 years ago, we told a lot of you community members, SwissBorg doesn't want to be just a Christian Dior of Europe, of financial applications, right? Or financial services. We want to be an LVMH, as in we want to have other sister and brother companies within our holdings company, because if some of those succeed, then we can provide bigger airdrops, just like Cosmos does when a massive network launches like Celestia or Say. So we're combining a 3-in-1 airdrop. I hope you guys are excited. Show me some green hearts and let's move to the next slide. Okay, now some people are going to complain about this, but please bear with me and you'll understand. If you guys can double click would be great. So as you guys know, we have different camps. Yeah, you can just click up in one more. That's perfect. So as you guys know, we have different camps. Now, according to data for the Borg token price. Now, first off, let me say for the smaller Borg token holders, in the beginning, you may not be eligible for airdrops. Now, this is going to make you very frustrated and very angry, but you need to understand one thing. Because we don't have the size of a Binance yet, we have to make sure that people who can actually move the price of the Borg token are satisfied, right? They're satisfied with their services. And that's if we can move the price of the Borg token and get people more excited with the Borg rank, then all of a sudden you will benefit even the small token holder. So for example, for listings, we don't have much power. So that would be, for instance, these numbers may change. That would be camp 200K and above. For alpha, because we have more leverage and negotiation power, by the way, these airdrops are all going to you guys and the Borg token holders, we can negotiate up for the Borger camp 100K and plus. And you can notice that between the 100K to 200K Borger camp, that could already be lots of buying pressure on the token. And then through the ecosystem projects, because we have bigger percentages, and we'll look at the numbers in the next slide, we can potentially offer to the Borger camp 50K Borgs and plus. So you guys understand. But as we move into 2025, if you can click 2 more, you can see that as we scale the platform and the number of users, then we can charge more airdrops for listings, or for the thematics, we can charge more airdrops through alpha. And as we grow, you can see that we can scale from one camp to the other, and we will make this more and more fair. Next slide, please. Now, one question is really, you're probably asking yourself, is what are the next airdrops? Well, I can tell you that there are already 2 airdrops that have been signed. One is called API 3, which is a listing. We also have an airdrop for Polkadot. And there is one more airdrop that I believe Cyrus and Benji hinted to a little bit earlier. So if you can go to the next slide. We're going to have a Camino airdrop as well, guys, which is very exciting. And I don't want to spoil anything, but I believe we're going to sign 2 other airdrops very, very soon. So we'll give you more information on that. When it comes to the SwissBorg spinoffs, it's very, very important to understand that Xborg, as SwissBorg negotiated we have roughly 7% of the supply. We have a percentage of the supply of Agora Dex. We have a percentage of the supply of Galactica. Same thing for Cyborg. It's very important for you to understand, guys, that our future goal for airdrops, which I think is going to be very exciting, is to create a new yield. And this will come in by 2025. And why by 2025 is simply because by the time these tokens list, like Agora, Xborg, etc., we have a lockup for roughly 12 months before we get access to these tokens. Once we get access to these tokens, the idea here is rather than giving you a fake yield, which there's no such thing as re-yield as of today, maybe 2-3% if you're lucky on some of the lending platforms, we would provide 5%, 7%, hopefully even in the future up to 10% in non-Borg tokens. So you'll be staking Borg and then receiving other tokens in exchange for staking these Borg. And that is very, very exciting. We'll have more information on this, I promise you, as soon as TGE launches so that we can give you specific numbers. But I can tell you that these 3 axes of airdrops, which will become stake drops, are very, very exciting for the Borg utility. And you guys will, all of this Borg rank will make even more sense on top of alpha and all the other cool perks. Can we move to the next slide, guys? All right.
Yeah, ouais.
There's the last slide. If you could share the slide, Danny. Yes. Go for it, Alex. Home run for the end.
I mean, guys, all I have to say is this slide should tell you a lot. I know a lot of people may think, oh, the MEX this, the MEX that. Can you add Avalanche? Can you add Ethereum? Of course. The engineering team is looking to integrate other platforms. It's just technologically right now, it's very complicated. And as we know, only possible on Solana. OPOS also is OPOSS, so only on Solana and SwissBorg. And I think it's this picture, guys, should really tell you that the MEX and now what SwissBorg is coming, which was the initial promise that Cyrus did in 2017, which was the urge to merge the off-chain and on-chain worlds. We are almost 8 years down the line from that video, from that white paper, and we are truly building this dream for you. And this is, once again, this technology exists nowhere else in the world. If you want to understand how much potential the Borg token has, which I will repeat myself once more, we are in Q1 2020, is that you need to compare the Borg token relative to Jupiter or 1inch. And a lot of this research will come out in the white paper side, which I'm sure we can talk about for future releases. And there's going to be more information on how we're going to communicate this new narrative of SwissBorg, which will be one of the winners. Because I'm telling you guys, with the regulatory frameworks, with Mika 1, Mika 2, there will be KYC, and a lot of the DEX's world will slow down all of a sudden. Everyone who has a bit of a head start on the technological advancements will be slowed down, and those who have a head start on the regulatory advancements will accelerate. So I'm super bullish, and once again, in this single glance, this is the future, and I'm telling you guys, in 10 years from now, this image will be remembered.
Beautifully said. I think so. There's that more. Anyone has any words for the end? Anthony, Benji, or Francois?
No, we are super happy. Are we?
And thrilled.
And thrilled. I hope, guys, you had an amazing evening, but it was a blast for us.
Yeah, I would. Anthony, anything to share?
Thanks again for all the contribution, the community, all the heart. Alex, amazing energy. Again, happy birthday, my brother. And yeah, I think there is a lot that we can say. Sometimes I feel what we say is a little bit technical, and the world is very technical, but that's the beauty of SwissBorg. And it's funny because sometimes we met with people in the space and they say, I don't believe how much you are fluent with all the Web3, and you guys doing an amazing job, and the world doesn't know yet. And yeah, the potential I think is immense.
Yeah, I think so. Thank you so much for that. I think so. The takeaways here is SwissBorg as an ecosystem, which is tackling big problems at each cycle. Right, we've been able to be one of the biggest ICOs in the cycle number 2. The last cycle was about the whole DeFi thing. This 4th cycle now is about really merging the off-chain world and the on-chain world, building this MEX. By building this MEX, we now have the opportunity to launch a Borg Pass. We'll be able to front run everyone, but more importantly, to really bring what's this true essence of what is the peer-to-peer culture. A peer-to-peer is connection between human beings. It's not human beings with companies that go through this multiple different cartel. The true spirit of what Bitcoin, Ethereum has achieved, what SwissBorg has achieved, is now going to be able to pass it on to the rest of the project. So this is going to be a really beautiful way to bring the best essence and really bring the most value to you, dear Borgers. What you have to understand with that is that they will have a lot of these glasses here that will be green. That will be filling up and filling up and filling up and filling up on an on-chain world, but as well, of course, on the off-chain side with the SwissBorg app. And I think that we really have to understand that this is only a short beginning. And we're extremely proud to be, the Solana labelers with this beautiful purple token. But there's then so much to do going forward. I'm couldn't be more excited. I think so, Alex, you pinned it right. You know, a lot of people were not so happy in the early 2020, but then we went to the moon, and we brought the essence. In this cycle, we're definitely not yet at the top. You know, there's a lot of volatility. There's a lot of people that have not come yet, and I think so. There's definitely a lot going to be happening in the next quarters and even semesters, and probably this will go on for the following 2025 too. So there's still a lot of wealth to be built. For you Borgers, what I always, you know, as a last word is build your own wealth as always, and then, you know, try to think about how the SwissBorg community could get better. And if you have a great project, you know, this meme token thing could be a fun experience. But if you have as well different projects that you have in mind and you want to build and you want to launch the board pad, this is now, it's the time to think about these things. 4 months from now, they'll have traction on this board pad more and more and more, not just from the Borgers, but essentially a lot of on-chain Solana users around the world. And you'll have more and more great things I'll be building with that. So I couldn't be more excited for this. And as always, be healthy, be wealthy, love our Borg and equity. Much love to you guys. Take care.